Ladies and gentlemen, imagine for a moment that you've poured your heart and soul into something business, a relationship, a dream, and then one day it all falls apart. The opportunity vanishes. The door slams shut. The setback hits you like a tidal wave, knocking you down and leaving you gasping for air. We've all been there. But here's the real question. What do you do next? Do you let the setback define you, or do you use it as fuel to rise stronger? Today, I want to share 6 powerful steps that will help you turn any setback into a setup for success. These aren't just ideas. They are real, actionable steps that have changed lives, including my own. Let's dive in. Our first instinct when we fall is to resist. It's almost automatic. We tense up, we try to stop it, we scramble to regain our balance, hoping no one saw it happen. And when we hit the ground metaphorically or literal, your first reaction is often denial, blame, or shame. But let me ask you this. What if the fall wasn't something to resist? What if it was something to embrace? Failure is the beginning of every great success story, every single one. Not some, not most, every single one. It's not the thing that prevents success, it's the thing that creates it. But only if we let it, only if we lean into it instead of running from it, only if we stop seeing failure as a dead end and start recognizing it as a doorway. Think of JK Rowling. Today, she's a household name, a symbol of imagination and resilience. But before the world knew her stories, before Hogwarts came to life, she was living a different reality, one filled with rejection, struggle, and uncertainty. She was a single mother on welfare, doing her best to make ends meet, while holding onto a dream that no one else seemed to believe in. Her manuscript was rejected by 12 publishers. 12 times, she heard the number 12 times, she could have given up. And yet she didn't. Instead, she chose to see those rejections not as failures, but as part of the journey. She didn't resist the fall. She embraced it. Now, I want you to think about a time in your own life when you fell. Maybe it was a career setback. Maybe it was a personal failure. Maybe it was a dream that didn't work out the way you had planned. In that moment, what did you feel? Shame? Frustration? Did you ask yourself, why me? Did you wonder if you should just quit? We've all been there. We've all had moments where it felt like everything was slipping through our fingers. But here's the thing. Those moments are not the enemy. Those moments are the teachers. They're the ones shaping you, preparing you for something greater. And the question is not whether or not you will fall. The question is, what will you do when you do? The problem is that we've been conditioned to see failure as something to avoid. From a young age, we're told to get it right, to not make mistakes, to aim for perfection. But perfection is an illusion, and mistakes are inevitable. The people who achieve the extraordinary are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who refuse to be defined by their failures. They are the ones who fall and get back up, not just once, but over and over again. They are the ones who ask themselves, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of, why did this happen to me? So let's reframe failure. Let's stop seeing it as a roadblock and start recognizing it as a stepping stone. Every setback carries a lesson. Every rejection is redirection. Every fall is an invitation to rise stronger than before. When we shift our mindset, failure stops being something we fear and starts being something we embrace. Look at the greatest innovators, the greatest leaders, the greatest artists. They are not the ones who avoided failure. They are the ones who faced it head on, who learned from it, who refused to let it define them. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. Walt Disney was told he lacked creativity. Oprah Winfrey was demoted from her job as a television anchor because she was deemed unfit for television. Can you imagine if any of them had let those failures stop them? Can you imagine if they had decided that one person's rejection was the final word on their potential? The reality is, we will all fail at some point. We will all experience rejection. We will all have moments where we question ourselves, where we wonder if we're good enough, strong enough, smart enough. But those moments are not the end of the story. They are the beginning. The defining factor is not whether we fall, it's whether we choose to get back up. Because when we embrace failure, we grow, we learn, we build resilience, we gain wisdom, and most importantly, we become more courageous. The fear of failure loses its grip on us because we begin to understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is a necessary part of success. So the next time you fall, don't fight it. Don't resist it. Don't see it as a sign that you weren't meant to succeed. Instead, lean into it. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What lesson is hidden in this moment? What opportunity is waiting for me on the other side of this setback? And then, when you've learned what you need to learn, get back up. Not with shame, not with regret, but with a renewed sense of purpose, with a deeper understanding of yourself, and with the knowledge that every great success, story yours included, begins with a fall. There is a moment in all of our lives when we face something that feels insurmountable, a rejection, a failure, a dream slipping through our fingers. It's in these moments that we define ourselves not by what happened, but by what happens next. Too many people see failure as an end, a stop sign, a conclusion, but failure is never final. It's just a step. And what separates those who achieve greatness from those who remain stuck is a single word. Yet, think about a time when you felt like giving up. Maybe it was a job you didn't get, a goal you didn't reach, a skill you couldn't master. That voice in your head started whispering, I'm just not good at this. I'll never get there. It's over. But what if you had added one simple word? What if instead of saying, I can't do this, you said, I can't do this yet? That small shift changes everything. Yet turns failure into possibility. It turns a dead end into a detour. It transforms discouragement into determination. Because when we believe that success is just a matter of time, effort, and learning, we stop seeing failure as a reason to quit. We start seeing it as part of the journey. Dr. Carol Dweck, a psychologist at Stanford University, discovered this through years of research. She found that people with a fixed mindset, those who believe their abilities are set in stone, see failure as proof of their limitations. But people with a growth mindset, those who believe skills can be developed, see failure as feedback, as an opportunity, as a teacher. And the biggest difference between these two groups? The ones who grow believe in the power of yet. Let's take a step back and think about one of the greatest athletes of all time, Michael Jordan. We all know the legend, but do you know the story? As a sophomore in high school, he was cut from the basketball team. Cut. Imagine what that must have felt like walking home that day, the humiliation, the doubt. He could have decided right then that he wasn't good enough, that he'd never make it. But instead, he told himself, I'm not good enough yet. And he worked. He practiced. He refined his skills. And the world got to witness a level of greatness that changed the sport forever. Now, you may not be Michael Jordan, but you do have something in common with him. You have the choice. The choice to believe that today is the best you'll ever be, to believe that tomorrow you'll be better. You have the choice to see failure as a dead-end door, to see it as the beginning of something greater. You have the choice to give up or to say, not yet. The power of yet extends far beyond sports. It's the foundation of every breakthrough in history. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before he perfected the light bulb. When asked about his failures, he famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's the power of yet. JK Rowling, before she became one of the best-selling authors of all time, was rejected by 12 publishers. 12 different people told her that her story wasn't good enough. Imagine if she had believed them. Imagine if she had given up. But instead, she persisted. She believed in her work, and millions of people around the world found magic because she refused to accept failure as the final word. This applies to business, to relationships, to personal growth, to everything. The most successful companies in the world are built on the power of yet. When Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, he could have walked away, but he didn't. He rebuilt, he reimagined, and he came back stronger. Apple didn't succeed because of one straight path to victory. It succeeded because of resilience, because of the belief that failure was not the end, it was just a step. So the question is, how do we rewire our mindset? How do we train ourselves to see the power of yet instead of the fear of failure? First, we need to change our language. The words we use shape the way we think. Instead of saying, I'm not smart enough, say, I'm not smart enough yet. Instead of, I can't do this, say, I can't do this yet. Our brains listen to the words we repeat. And when we change our narrative, we change our reality. Second, we need to embrace the struggle. Too many people quit when things get hard, believing that difficulty means they're not meant for something. But difficulty is proof that you're growing. Every challenge you face is strengthening you. Every setback is refining you. If you find yourself struggling, it doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're in the process of succeeding. Third, we need to surround ourselves with people who believe in growth. The company we keep influences our mindset. If you're around people who say, it's impossible, you'll start to believe it. But if you're around people who say, keep going, you're not there yet, then you will push through. You will rise higher. You will prove to yourself what you're capable of. This isn't just about motivation. It's about neuroscience. When we see failure as a learning opportunity, our brain strengthens its neural pathways. Every time we try again, we are literally rewiring our brain to be more resilient, more creative, more adaptable. The science backs this up. People who adopt a growth mindset achieve more. They take more risks. They innovate. They outperform those who see failure as a reason to stop. So what does this mean for you? It means that no matter where you are today, no matter what you've faced, no matter how many times you've fallen, your story is not over. You are not finished. You are not stuck. You are just not there yet. And that is the most powerful thing of all, because yet means there is still more to come. It means your best work is ahead of you. It means that what you're capable of is still unfolding. It means that this is not where your journey ends. This is where it begins. So go out there, take the risk, get back up, learn from the failures, and the next time you feel like saying, I can't, add one more word yet. There's a truth most people don't want to face. The moment we take full responsibility for everything in our lives, we take back our power. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. But it's the difference between those who rise and those who stay stuck. Because here's what happens when we don't take ownership, we make excuses. We blame the economy. We blame our upbringing. We blame the system, our boss, the weather, or even bad luck. We come up with an endless list of reasons why we're not where we want to be, but none of those things are actually stopping us. The only thing standing between where we are and where we want to be is us. When SpaceX rockets exploded on the launch pad, there were plenty of technical explanations. They could have pointed fingers. They could have made excuses. But leadership didn't. Instead, they did what the best doth. They took full responsibility. When we take ownership of our circumstances, we stop waiting for things to change and we start making change happen. When we decide that everything is our responsibility, we empower ourselves to do something about it. Most people misunderstand what taking ownership actually means. It doesn't mean we have to do everything ourselves. It doesn't mean we have to be perfect or that failure won't happen. It means that when things go wrong, we don't look for who to blame. We look in the mirror. We ask, what could I have done differently? How do I fix this? How do I grow from this? That shift in mindset changes everything. Because when we stop waiting for the world to make things easier, we develop the resilience to handle whatever comes our way. There's a moment in every person's journey when they hit a wall, a moment where nothing seems to be working, where frustration takes over, where failure feels inevitable. And in that moment, most people look for a way out. They look for an excuse. But the rare few, the ones who go on to change the world, do something different. They take ownership. They say, this is on me. I may not have chosen these circumstances, but I get to decide what happens next. And in that moment, everything shifts. Because taking ownership turns obstacles into stepping stones. It turns setbacks into setups for something greater. The truth is, ownership is not just about success. It's about who we become. It's about integrity. It's about leadership. People follow those who take responsibility, not those who make excuses. People trust those who own their mistakes, not those who hide behind circumstances. The best leaders, the best innovators, the best in any field all have one thing in common. They refuse to be victims of circumstance. They own everything, every success, every failure, every lesson. Think about the people you admire, the ones who inspire you. They didn't get there by blaming others. They got there by owning every part of their journey, even the hard parts. And that's the challenge for all of us. Not just when things are going well, but when things are falling apart, when the plan fails, when the deal collapses, when everything is on the line. That's when we have to decide, will we be victims of our circumstances, or will we take responsibility for our future? It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because the moment we stop making excuses, we take back control. And when we take control, we have the power to create something extraordinary. Sometimes when we fail, we think it's a sign to quit. The disappointment feels heavy, the doubt creeps in, and we convince ourselves that maybe this dream wasn't meant for us. But what if failure isn't the universe telling us to stop? What if it's simply telling us to adjust, to refine, to rethink? Too often we see obstacles as walls when they are in fact doors waiting to be unlocked. Think about Thomas Edison. He didn't just wake up one morning and invent the light bulb. It took thousands of failures, countless attempts, and an unshakable belief in his vision. He didn't see failure as an indictment of his abilities. He saw it as information. With every failed attempt, he learned something new. He didn't abandon the goal. He adapted his approach. That's a lesson we often miss. We live in a world that celebrates instant success. We scroll through social media and see highlight reels of people achieving great things, seemingly overnight. But what we don't see are the late nights, the sacrifices, the failures, the doubts. We don't see the moments they wanted to quit but chose to keep going. The reality is, success is rarely a straight line. It's messy. It's filled with twists, turns, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But those who persist, who refuse to abandon their purpose, are the ones who ultimately make an impact. Consider the stories of those who changed the world. Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he built. JK Rowling was rejected by 12 different publishers before one finally took a chance on her story. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Each of them faced rejection. Each of them had moments where they could have walked away. But they didn't. They adapted. They learned. They kept going. And this isn't just about the well-known success stories. This is about you. This is about your dreams, your aspirations, your journey. Maybe you face setbacks. Maybe you've been told you're not good enough. Maybe you've failed more times than you can count. And maybe just maybe you're thinking about giving up. But before you do, ask yourself, is this failure telling me to quit or is it telling me to adjust? Think about a GPS. When we take a wrong turn, it doesn't shut down and tell us we're lost forever. It recalculates. It finds another way. It adapts. That's exactly what we need to do when we face obstacles in life. We need to recalculate, adjust our approach, and keep moving forward. Because the only true failure is giving up entirely. There's a story about a gold miner during the California gold rush. He spent years digging, searching for gold. He had invested everything, his money, his energy, his time. But after years of effort with no success, he finally gave up. He sold his mining equipment and walked away. The man who bought his equipment took over the site, dug just 3 feet deeper, and struck one of the richest veins of gold ever discovered. 3 feet. That's all that separated failure from success. So often, we give up when we are just 3 feet away from the breakthrough we've been searching for. We walk away not because the dream is impossible, but because the journey feels too difficult. But difficulty is not a reason to quit. It's a reason to dig deeper, to reassess, to pivot if needed, but never to abandon the vision entirely. And yet, adapting doesn't mean compromising your values. It doesn't mean abandoning who you are. It means being open to learning. It means embracing change as part of the process. It means understanding that persistence is not about doing the same thing over and over again. It's about being willing to try new approaches, to learn from mistakes, to refine the strategy while staying true to the mission. Every great invention, every major breakthrough, every significant achievement in history exists because someone refused to quit. Because someone saw failure not as an endpoint, but as a stepping stone. Because someone was willing to adapt instead of abandon. And if they could do it, so can you. The road ahead won't always be easy. There will be times when you question everything. There will be days when you feel like giving up. But in those moments, remember, success isn't about perfection. It's about perseverance. It's about learning from every failure, growing from every setback, and continuing forward no matter how difficult the journey may seem. So if your plan isn't working, don't abandon your dream. Just find a better way. Keep going, keep adapting, because the greatest rewards go to those who refuse to quit. We often hear stories of extraordinary people, visionaries, leaders, change makers who have shaped the world through their ideas, persistence, and courage. But there's one thing they all had in common. They didn't do it alone. Success isn't a solo journey. No matter how brilliant, how hardworking, or how determined you are, the people you surround yourself with will either propel you forward or hold you back. They will either challenge you to rise or subtly, and sometimes unknowingly, chip away at your dreams. Every single one of us is a reflection of the company we keep, and that's something we must never forget. Think about someone like Oprah Winfrey. Her story is one of resilience, of breaking barriers, of defying expectations. But if you dive deeper, you'll find that her journey wasn't just about her personal strength, it was about the people she chose to have around her. When she was fired from her first job as a television anchor, she didn't let it define her. Instead, she leaned on the mentors, friends, and supporters who reminded her of her potential, who encouraged her to step into something greater. Without those people, without that unwavering belief surrounding her, the story we know today might have been very different. Now, turn the lens on yourself. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who are the voices in your life? Are they lifting you up, pushing you to be better, challenging you to reach higher? Or are they feeding your doubts, amplifying your fears, and keeping you tethered to mediocrity? It's easy to underestimate the impact of our environment. We like to think we are strong enough to push forward on our own. to withstand negativity, to be unaffected by the people we interact with every day. But that's simply not how we're wired. Human beings are deeply influenced by those around us. We adopt habits, beliefs, and mindsets from our closest relationships. And over time, these influences shape our choices, our actions, and ultimately our destiny. If you want to build something great, if you want to achieve something extraordinary, you must be intentional about who you let into your circle. You must seek out those who believe in you, even on the days you don't believe in yourself. You must surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking, who push you outside your comfort zone, who see the best in you, even when you struggle to see it in yourself. But this isn't just about finding people who will cheer you on. The right people won't just tell you what you want to hear. They will tell you what you need to hear. They will hold you accountable. They will call you out when you're making excuses, when you're playing small, when you're settling for less than what you're capable of. And yes, that might be uncomfortable. It might even be frustrating, but it's necessary. Too often, we cling to relationships out of habit, out of fear of change, out of a sense of loyalty that no longer serves us. We keep people around who drain our energy, who diminish our confidence, who reinforce our doubts. And then we wonder why we feel stuck, why we can't seem to move forward, why our motivation fades. The truth is, you cannot rise to your fullest potential if you are constantly surrounded by people who keep you anchored to the ground. Look at the greatest athletes, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most impactful leaders. None of them got there alone. They had mentors, coaches, advisors, and friends who believed in their vision. They built their inner circle with intention. They didn't let just anyone in. They were selective. They were deliberate. They understood that their environment would dictate their trajectory. But here's the thing, surrounding yourself with the right people isn't just about what you get from them, it's also about what you bring to the table. You must be the kind of person who lifts others, who encourages, who challenges, who inspires. Because energy is reciprocal. You attract what you put out into the world. If you want to be around extraordinary people, you must become extraordinary yourself. So ask yourself, who in your life makes you better? Who pushes you to grow? Who reminds you of your potential when you forget? And just as importantly, who do you need to distance yourself from? Who drains your energy? Who keeps you stuck in old patterns? Who reinforces limitations that you are trying to break free from? This isn't about cutting people off with coldness or resentment. It's about making a conscious, deliberate choice about the kind of life you want to build. Because at the end of the day, the life you live will be shaped by the people you surround yourself with. Your future, your success, your happiness, it all starts with the company you keep. Choose wisely. When we face setbacks, fear takes hold. It whispers doubts in our ears, paralyzing us before we even get the chance to move. Fear tells us to wait for a better moment, a better opportunity, a better time. But time passes and we find ourselves in the same place, wondering why we haven't moved forward. We all know what fear feels like. That tightening in the chest, the hesitation before we step into the unknown. It convinces us that failure is inevitable, that discomfort is a sign to retreat. But here's the truth. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is simply an invitation to act, to move, to do something. Think about history. Think about the moments that changed everything. They didn't come from waiting. They didn't come from hesitation. They came from action. In 1955, Rosa Parks sat down on a bus and refused to stand. It was one moment, one decision, a seemingly small action that became the spark for an entire movement. She didn't wait for the right time. She didn't wait for permission. She moved. And because she moved, so did millions of others. Every great leader, every visionary, every person who has ever left a mark on this world did so not by standing still, but by taking action often when it was the hardest, often when it was terrifying, because they understood that action is the antidote to fear. Think about your own life. How many times have you stood on the edge of something great only to back away because fear convinced you to wait? How many times have you hesitated waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect set of circumstances? But perfection is an illusion. If we wait for perfection, we wait forever. The people who achieve greatness are not the ones who wait for the stars to align. They are the ones who start moving before they even know where the road will take them. Maybe you've been thinking about reaching out to someone who could help you on your journey. Maybe you've been contemplating a new project, a new business, a new chapter in your life. But fear has been whispering, not yet. What if, instead of listening to that voice, you took one small action today, just one, a phone call, an email, a conversation, a single step forward? Because momentum doesn't start with grand gestures. It starts with the smallest of movements. Think of a boulder at rest. It takes enormous effort to push it forward. But the moment it starts rolling, something incredible happens that builds speed. The resistance that once made it so difficult to move suddenly works in its favor. This is momentum. This is what happens when we choose action over fear. But here's the thing. Action doesn't eliminate fear. Fear will still be there, lurking in the background, trying to pull you back. The difference is action makes fear irrelevant. When we move, fear no longer holds the same power. It becomes background noise rather than the main character in our story. We have all experienced failure. We have all faced rejection. And those moments hurt. They make us question ourselves. But what separates those who succeed from those who don't is not intelligence, not talent, not luck. It's the ability to keep moving despite the fear, despite the setbacks, despite the uncertainty. The greatest opportunities in life don't come when we feel ready. They come when we decide to take the leap before we see the net. They come when we choose to trust that action will lead us somewhere meaningful even if we can't see the full path ahead. There are countless stories of people who took a single step and changed everything. Steve Jobs started Apple in his parents' garage. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first job as a television anchor. JK Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before one said yes. These are not stories of people who had everything figured out. These are stories of people who chose action when it would have been easier to walk away. So what's stopping you? What's the fear that's keeping you still? Whatever it is, I promise you, it is not as powerful as the action you are capable of taking. The world doesn't move forward because of people who wait. It moves forward because of those who step forward, who take risks, who dare to act even when fear tells them not to. Today, I want you to make a decision. Not a decision to wait, not a decision to analyze every possible outcome, but a decision to act. One small step, one simple action. Because when you take action, you don't just break the cycle of fear, you create the momentum that carries you forward. And in that movement, you might just change everything. So let me leave you with this. Setbacks are not roadblocks. They are redirects. They don't mean stop. They mean adjust. The question isn't if you will face failure. You will. We all do. The real question is, what will you do next? Will you resist it or will you embrace it? Will you let it define you or will you use it to grow? Because in the end, success isn't about never falling. It's about learning how to rise again and again. Thank you.